So it's a little frustrating to have been trying to tell people something for like a long time, and they don't listen, they write you off, okay? And then, you know, months later, you've been saying this in their ear for like a year, but then months later, they come to the realization of something all on their own, like God put it in their head. Oh, and then they tell everybody, I just realized this. No, you didn't just realize that. I've been telling you that for a fucking year. But sure, you just realized it. Whatever. It's frustrating. Anywho, I want to show you guys one of the things that I'm talking about. I'm tired of people telling myself and anyone else that Hyder built these machines that we're using. He didn't. He worked on Smartmatic in another country. I'm not saying that they're not related. I'm saying that he didn't do this. The HART and the ES&S systems that we know of, these hybrid systems, they seem to be reincarnations of this, something called the Star Vote system, which was created in Travis County, Texas in 2011. This is an article from eugenics.org, okay, who gave this presentation in 2013 about the Star Vote system. So I'm going to play this. I've done this video before, but I just lost my last YouTube account, so my really funny commentary, it's gone. It's into oblivion, so I'm going to redo it. All right, but here's a little video down at the bottom. If you'll go to eugenics.org, okay. Really, if you'll just Google Star Vote system, it should bring this up. Okay, so I'm going to play this presentation that they've got down here, and I want y'all to understand what I'm talking about when I say Hyder didn't do this. This was done in Texas specifically to fuck with our shit. And part of the people who worked on this, wait, first let me show you something else. Let me show you something. Okay. Authors of this system. Dana de Beauvoir right here. She's Travis County Clerk. Okay. It says Office of the Travis County Clerk. She's a Travis County Clerk. In Texas, if you don't have an elections administrator, then the job is on the county clerk. Then the county clerk's the elections administrator. But if your county's election board decides to create that position and appoint somebody, then the county clerk just does, I don't know what else, but they don't do the elections anymore. Then it's the elections administrator. There's a name on here I really want to point out to you. Where is it? Where is it? Right here. Philip B. Stark. That bastard helped design the systems, and then he was part of the New Hampshire audit team that debunked all of the issues in New Hampshire as just being human error. This motherfucker and Hari Hursty, they no longer believe in the vulnerability of our election system now that they were successful in pulling this shit off for Biden. Okay, Philip B. Stark should not be auditing any election voting system because he helped create the current system. Watch this shit. Watch this shit. Dan Wallach. Fuck.
I'm going to be presenting a large group effort that began here 2 years ago. This is a large cast of characters. We have cryptographers, we have human factors people, we have statistical auditing people, and we have the elections office of a county. A huge number of people have helped contribute to make this happen, and I'm just one of many people. Well, 2 years ago at this conference, Dana de Beauvoir came here, and she said, I want to build a new thing, and it's going to be great, and you can help me. And Josh was like, I want to help you, and the rest of us jumped in too. So today I'm going to be describing some of the outcome of that effort. First, for those of you who aren't familiar, Travis County, the home of Austin, Texas, the capital.
If I dip out, I'm just making some candles. I'll be right back to give some spicy hot sports opinions.
Roughly, people live in the county. In the last presidential election, just shy of 400,000 voters. Texas has early voting, which is something that is not a universal. So there are 23 locations throughout Travis County where any registered voter may go in the 2 weeks prior to the election and cast their ballot. So any voter can go to any early voting center and be given their ballot. And there are variations on this across the state. On election day, Travis County also has vote centers. This was a response to the redrawing of the gerrymandering of the districts. So in order to keep voters from getting confused...
Oh, stupid voters. They're blaming the community-wide polling place program on the redistricting that someone intentionally did a bad job of, I'm sure. But we're not that fucking dumb.
They waved a magic wand and said, Shazam, every polling place is now a voting center. Any voter can go to any polling place, and there's lots of them, and then we don't have to worry about voters getting confused about where they're supposed to go vote. It was a great way of avoiding what would have been a huge disaster.
So this is just in this one county?
Yes, yeah. I live there, and we don't have election day vote centers, but we do have early voting. Okay, and in Texas, it's typical in some ballots to have 100+ questions to the voter. So our elections are complicated. We vote for a large number of judges who are running unopposed. It's great. Why? I don't know. Okay, so Travis County has had a bunch of different...
Lean not on your own understanding, globalist piece of shit.
Voting technologies. Before 2001, they used centrally tabulated optical scan. It was a logistical nightmare of managing all these ballots coming back to one place. And then they jumped on the electronic voting bandwagon in 2001. They were one of the first in the state to adopt this device, a Hart InterCivic eSlate. It's got a little iPod wheel that you scroll to pick what you want, and it's locally networked in the polling place. So there are no, they don't have the smart cards that Diebold has, which turned out to be a huge security threat vector. Okay, first, the marketing pitch. No ambiguity of voter intent, which is great, because when you look at hand-marked ballots, you get ambiguous intent. There are a variety of accessibility features. They have a headphone jack that works all the time. So it's not like there's accessibility mode and regular mode. It's just talking all the time. Whatever you highlight with the cursor, it's reading. I did it once for fun. I just put the headphones on while I was voting. It works. They get fast results at the end of the day, and they piss off all the election activists. But who cares about them? Around 2011, Dana...
If you'll notice, look, when these people tell you that they don't care about election integrity, believe them. See, they says that they introduced this in 2001. And it wasn't, and it pissed off all the election activists. But it wasn't until 2011 that they decided to try something new. 10 years worth of voting systems, voting cycles. We were using this eSlate system that pissed off all the election integrity activists. They really didn't care what the people said, the people's concerns. They really didn't care.
Dana and her team said, you know what, it's time for something new, and there was nothing on the market that they liked. All the technologies that were for sale weren't really any better. And certainly the world must have gotten better. Hey, maybe I'll call in those academics, right? So Dana calls me and says, Dan, I want you to organize a thing. And I'm like, you're pulling my leg. She's like, no, really. We're going to do this.
And listen to how they talk about this stuff. It's very much like a dorm room mentality, like a college project sort of mentality. They don't take this very seriously at all. I mean, they're seriously funded, and they're serious about being the ones to revitalize the election systems. But just pay attention to the way that they talk about it.
I'm like, well, can I invite a whole bunch of people and let's have a big meeting in Austin? She's like, we can do that. I'm like, all right then. So I invited a bunch of people. Now, Josh was so excited. He's like, I'm going to take vacation time from Microsoft and come down on my own. This is great. I'm like, well, I want this guy Olivier because he's been doing all this cool work. They're like, well, we can't afford to fly him in from Belgium. Olivier came on his own dime.
Microsoft. Some dude named Olivier from Belgium, who they didn't want the culpability of having flown in. Okay? So they made it, so he flew in on his own dime. Great way to get around paying to have a foreigner come in and help design our election systems. Fucking traitors.
Right? This is such a rare opportunity that we all jumped on it. So we spent a long weekend discovering the joys of eating dried apricots and wasabi peas. And we came up with a design. So
I'm sorry, that's how you know they're Satanists. That's how you know.
I'm going to be telling you today about that design. But first, some of the constraints that led to the design. Constraint number one, it must have a DRE-style user interface. I've been calling this the DRE experience. Sounds like a ride at Disney. Not a very popular one. So
I want to skip ahead and show you, well, I'll let them go on for another minute, but then I'm going to skip ahead and show you the system that they designed and how it's identical to the current HART and ES&S and potentially Dominion voting systems. I don't know, because we don't use Dominion here in Texas. We just use HART and ES&S.
So we want to have all the accessibility features that you can get in a DRE-style experience, where you can plug in a headphone and it can tell you what's going on. That's really essential. Likewise, if you have low vision, we can have big text, etc. If you're not a native English speaker, we can change it to be another language. We want the kind of accessibility features that you can really only do well when you've got a computer interface, not paper. And it's essential that we can disambiguate voter intent before they leave the polling place. Way, way too many problems happen when you have paper. We don't want to have any lizard people issues. For those of you who haven't seen it, anyway, okay. We want to use off-the-shelf hardware because those e-slates are thousands of dollars, and that's crazy. This
Off-the-shelf hardware. That's vernacular that you'll find in common. Hari Hursty mentioned commercial off-the-shelf components when he was being questioned by Nick Moseder and CanCon and Clements, asking how did you do your scans? What kind of technology were you using to examine those ballots to make sure that they were actual real ballots in compliance with the ballots that were supposed to... There's actually a cricket chirping, that's funny. And Hari Hursty responded, commercial off-the-shelf components. Well, now they're using that vernacular here, and Hyder in Tarrant County uses a commercial off-the-shelf component, and he used those exact words. When I asked him, why are you scanning these mail-in ballots through this non-HART brand scanner? Why are you doing it? And what is that? What brand is that? He said it's a commercial off-the-shelf component.
This thing, just to pick an example, Sony will sell you a 20-inch touchscreen. It's a computer, it has a hard drive, it has a battery, and it's like $1,000. Why can't I use that? Right? And oh, by the way, then you get to buy a support contract from Sony rather than from Hard InterCivic or ES&S or whatever. So it's cheaper to buy, cheaper to maintain. And, you know, I don't know if this is our proposed voting UI or not, but you have a lot of flexibility for how you want to do the UI. We can have a huge screen. Think about the possibilities for low vision voters. Now we can really give them big text if that's what our user interface people say that we need.
That's a big selling point for them, that it's accessible for voters that are blind or quadriplegic or don't have any arms or don't have a nose, or, you know, that's their selling point. That's why we had to fuck up all of our elections, is because some voters have low vision.
We need. We're going to have a printer. This is one of the upfront constraints. There shall be printed paper ballots. And so we're going to have machine printed paper going into a ballot box. So let me... 1-to-1. So, the paper ballots. We want to have tangible, physical things that a voter can look at and say, yup. Now, never mind that we have human factors results that say half the voters won't notice if we flip their vote, and they'll still love the experience. Nonetheless, the other half might notice errors. So that's something.
I know you heard that. That we would just be happy to be voting. We're all just happy that they still let us vote, right, guys? We'd never notice if they switched our votes. We don't look at our PVRs. We don't read them and make sure they're accurate. We're so stupid.
And the design of this is that we only show them their selections, just like the summary screen on a traditional DRE. This allows us to fit that huge number of candidates on one or at most two sheets of paper. Right now we're thinking we'll use US legal size, 8.5 by 14. That's the rough idea. So this is a mock-up of the ballot using Microsoft Excel. The final ballot will almost certainly look a fair bit different. But there'll be a barcode that indicates like your precinct number and some other and some like a random nonce or other data that we need for cryptographic purposes. Now,
what?
Californians in the room will say, but you're not allowed to have numbers printed on the ballot. Well, the Texas state constitution says ballots shall be numbered. So we're good. Now, don't ask.
The way that he phrases that, it really strongly makes me believe that the numbering of the ballots and the way that they're not following the actual election code that outlines the way that our ballots are to be numbered, but they're not following that, but they're doing just enough, okay? And how they'd meet resistance for the way that they're numbering the ballots here in another state, but they say no, it's actually legal here for us to do that. It's actually required here for us to do that, okay? That leads me to believe that there's an ulterior motive for the way that they're numbering our ballots, which is not according to Texas law, regardless of what he just said. What he just did just there, that's called double speak. Okay, it's double speak. It's telling a little lie with, telling a little truth with many lies.
Don't ask me how lever machines were legal to use in Texas when those same lever machines have no possible concept of numbering the ballots. My understanding.
Because the ballots are to be pre-numbered. They're to be prepared by being numbered consecutively, beginning with the number 1. You globalist piece of shit.
Standing is the lawyer said, well, ballots shall be numbered means there must be some kind of security mechanism. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. All right. Constraint number 3. Travis County digs this whole vote center thing. So we need to keep the vote center idea, where any voter can go to any polling, which means that we're going to have an online voter registration database to prevent somebody from voting often, or more often than allowed. The voting machines themselves we want to be offline. So that way, there's no way, the internet can't get to the voting machines at all. And, to the extent that data flows, we're going to be very, very careful about how data flows in anywhere, any place involving the internet. We have thousands of distinct ballot styles because of the carefully complicated overlapping gerrymandered districts. So the notion of pre-printing ballots is simply untenable. We cannot pre-print thousands of distinct ballot styles and have them in every possible precinct.
Show you.
Can you imagine?
Sorry. I'm going to fast forward this to show you the process that they've created here. Is the process for the HART and ES&S. I'm having trouble finding it. We'll just start it here.
These kinds of things can radically improve usability for the poll workers who aren't trained or they don't have the repeat experience. Instead, the machine can tell them, oh, look, you need to do something. Oh, look, here's something going on. This will really help. And it also is going to improve our security. Right. So here's the basic workflow. Here's our registration machine connected to the internet, not to anything inside the polling place. A voter walks up and says, hi there, I'd like to vote. So in Texas, apparently, our governor says that you'll be required to show your driver's license now. Yay. And then we're going to
Well, I mean, what an obstacle to overcome for you, right?
give you a very simple token that just encodes your precinct. That's it. Then you will walk over. So you'll
Guys, this is the debut of this system. It's identical to the Heart Hybrid with the Duos and the ESNS with the DS200s. And I don't know about Dominion, okay? If you're watching this and your state uses Dominion, is this exactly what it looks like for y'all too? Because it would seem as though our modern voting system was designed in Travis County, Texas in 2011 by Dana Devabor and a bunch of these assholes, okay? And it was shut down in 2015, and then born from the ashes of that are Heart, ESNS, and Dominion's new hybrid voting systems. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before.
The token is a piece of thermally printed paper from a restaurant-grade, receipt printer. It's going to look exactly like that. Then you'll walk over. So now you're actually entering the voting system. What keeps you from double voting? Well, you can't enter this queue unless you're approved from that queue. Okay? So now...
I mean, have you ever seen anything so secure? You can't get here unless they let you. And they're probably not going to let you. Have you ever seen any system this secure? Wow. I've never seen. Wow. Security on another level, am I right?
So you walk over to the controller. The controller will zap that with a barcode reader, avoiding data entry errors. And this will print out some new 5-digit code, which is similar to what Hard InterCivic already does. Again, thermal paper, crumple it up and throw it away when you're done. This is a nonce that allows you to vote and will make sure that you see your proper ballot style. So the voter walks over to the machine, they enter that nonce, and at this point, it's not active anymore. So the lifetime, you don't need to this doesn't need to be 100 digits, because this is only valid from the time you walk from here to here, and then it's gone. So there's a small number of these valid at any given time. If you sit there and just start demon dialing whatever, you're not. Then you'll steal somebody else's, and they'll be like, "Hey, I can't vote." So that would be a detectable failure. I think we will have these be non-repeating, but I don't think it matters. Anyway, now the voter can vote. So they get the DRE experience. They enter their choices, select who they want to vote for, and then it prints out this ballot, a ballot summary. So the voter has it in their hands, and the voter can take it to a ballot box and put it in. Now the ballot box is on the network. So that means that the ballot box will say, "Hey, I saw this ballot," which then helps the controller say, "Okay, that ballot's been deposited." So we have sort of inventory control, as it were. So by having a networked ballot box, a lot of really nice things happen. Now we get to track the ballot as it's moving through the system. If it gets deposited.
Yeah, the networked ballot box, those are the scanners. We hadn't been using those before, so this pilot concept, they're referring to them as a networked ballot box.
Deposited, we know that. And here's the cool part. The voter can spoil the ballot, start over. So if the user says, "Whoops, that's not how I wanted to vote," the vote isn't real until the paper goes in the box. And the ballot box has no user interface at all. It just accepts it and puts it in. Now, we are thinking that the ballot box will say, "Hey, I've got ballot ID number blah. Is that an actual valid ballot?" And that way, if you tried to do ballot box stuffing, it would say, "Whoops, that's not right." Or, or if the voter is just trying to stick random things in the ballot box, it can reject it. But the ballot box we're not going to have a bottleneck at the ballot box where current precinct-based optical scanners that want to help the voter verify their paper have a UI over here, and then you get a bottleneck of people waiting for the ballot box. All of that happens up here instead. So we're going to catch the machine if it cheats. This is the standard end-to-end thing that Josh presented here many, many years ago. So the voter makes their selection. The voting machine commits to the encryption of their vote, can't take it back, and then the voter is given a choice. The voter can cast the vote, and there's a confirmation of some kind, or the voter can challenge the vote, and then the machine has to prove that their encryption was correct. So in every previous system that has implemented the Benelo challenge, we have to ask the voter a question. I mean, there's a million different ways of encoding the commitment. VoteBox did it by sending a message on the network. Josh's original idea, he printed it on a piece of paper behind an opaque plate. Wow, excuse me. Now I can wake you up.
Gross ass